by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
What do you want to say, sir, about the signal chat controversy?
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies and on hoaxes time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, you know, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. This group, no, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with access to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know it, we know exactly what it is. So I'm really proud of what we're doing for the president, fighting hard across the board, and I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids. Thank you very much. I have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page all the way.
Yeah, I have to wonder why Pete Hegseth is in the hot seat. Well, the media hot seat, not the Donald Trump hot seat. You see, they've been gunning for Pete Hegseth since he was announced as a candidate. Remember that? Remember all the way back when President Trump announced that he wanted Pete Hegseth to be the guy as the Secretary of Defense? And they were gunning for him back then. They didn't care. And in order to understand what's happening, some of you guys may not have been well immersed into the media for some time. So let me tell you something, again, that you can go research on your own and look it up. Because what happened today with Pete Hegseth has been defined. It now has a name to it. It has a strategy that the Democrats use. And once I tell you what that strategy is, you're going to begin to recognize it over and over and over. See, unfortunately for them, they're the ones who told us. It was Nancy Pelosi a couple years ago. And I think she did it by mistake. She was doing a press conference, and she actually said the words. She goes, "We call it the wrap-up smear." So if you've never heard of the wrap-up smear, I'm sure there's many people in here who indeed have heard of the wrap-up smear. You can go look it up. There are probably articles about the wrap-up smear. So let me tell you the mechanics of the wrap-up smear and how it works. Today's media, they really don't have any sources. Let me just tell you that right now. These are talking heads who read a teleprompter, who look at a camera, and just read what's on the teleprompter. However, the people in reporters, like in Washington Post, New York Times, they need to have stuff to write about. So in order for the people to spew stuff on, on television, and in order for people to disseminate the spewage online, it has to start somewhere. It has to be, nurtured and created. And so the wrap-up smear, in case you're not familiar with it, is XYZ outlet. Let's call it NPR in this case. NPR writes a story with no sources, as Pete Hegseth said. None. Anonymous sources. They have no sources, but they can say anonymous sources. So they can say in the article, Pete Hegseth beat his wife. And then once they publish it, the next thing that happens is that CNN, MSNBC, etc., they begin reporting it as news. Oh, it's been reported that Pete Hegseth beats his wife. Yesterday, there was a story in NPR, and NPR said blah, blah, blah. And that's how it begins. It literally starts just like that. They make it up, but it's in their publication. And then once it's in their publication, the other news people report on it as if they're reporting news. And they leave out what they feel like leaving out. Hey, so today there was a report from NPR. NPR has reported that Pete Hegseth beats his wife. Now, I don't understand. I don't know how President Trump can keep this guy around because he beats his wife. But you got to go back to the original source. You got to dig. You got to go all the way back. Forget all the stuff that's reported. That's just part of the wrap-up smear. You got to go back to the source and find out, is this true? Well, when you look at the actual source, there's nothing there. But by now, it hits Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube, and it's out there. It can never be retrieved. And it's okay because it's anonymous sources. You literally can say whatever you want in today's media. You don't need to verify anything. Somebody has to start it and pour gasoline on it and then throw the Molotov cocktail, and that's what keeps happening. And then, of course, it gets all the way up to the president where they stick a microphone in his face. So are you you're gonna chastise Pete? You're gonna fire him? You're gonna find somebody else? No.
Well, I met two of them, and look, these are great gentlemen. They're great. If they weren't, they wouldn't be both.
Do you remain confident in access? Do you remain confident in access?
Oh, totally. Why do you even ask a question like that? We have recruitments that's at an all-time high. The spirit in the armed forces is fantastic. No, great confidence.
President Trump, you saw your message of Secretary Hegseth using Signal to discuss those military plans.
Are you bringing up Signal again? I thought they gave that up 2 weeks ago.
There was a new report this weekend that he used it in a separate chat that included some family members.
It's all just the same old stuff from the media. That's an old one. Try finding something new.
Sir, your message to Catholics, sir, mourning the loss of Pope Francis. Your message to Catholics, sir.
We love you all. We're with you all. They were with me during the election, as you know, very strongly, and it's just an honor to have the support of the Catholics, and I feel very badly for them because they love the Pope.
No matter who the next pope is, sir, no matter who the next pope is elected, whoever that may be, what relationship do you hope to have with the incoming pope?
I think very good. I've had that, but I think very good.
Do you think Russia and Ukraine can get in a deal this week? Do you think Russia and Ukraine can get a deal?
There's a chance. There's a very good chance.
Are you happy with how the European Union is handling the tariff right now? Are you happy with Europe right now?
They've been fun. We'll end up having a deal. We're going to ultimately have a deal with anyone. If we don't, we're going to make it anyway. But we're going to ultimately have. The economy is very good. We don't have inflation. Energy's down at the lowest it's been in years. We hit actually $1.98 recently in a couple of states. I think we're doing really well. We're all set. There's a little transition, and that's going to happen. But ultimately, we're going to be the strongest that we've ever been as a nation. Thank you.
So see, he explained it to him. This again? Are you seriously talking? Aren't we over with this? Now you're regurgitating it. You're doing the exact same thing all over again. Aren't we done with this? Nope, we're going to do it again. We're going to ask you about Pete Hegseth and whether or not he should be continued to be the Secretary of Defense. And you can just look in his face and go, you people disgust me. I mean, if it weren't for the fact that he's a president of the United States, he probably would have told these people, get bent. Here we are again, just bringing stuff up, and then it's a non-story. How do I know this, Barry? How do you know? Because it was sourced anonymously. If you had something, first of all, why in the hell were you going to NPR, which happens to be the same people who they're defunding? The newspaper or media outlet that the government is now going to be defunding, taking their money away, happens to be the same news outlet that launches an anonymous story about Pete Hegseth. Coincidence? I don't think so.
That whole thing again. Here we go again. Just a waste of time. He is doing a great job.
Why do you still have confidence?
Because he's doing a great job. Ask the Houthis how he's doing. Ask the Houthis.
He's doing a great job. How do you know he's doing a great job? Ask the Houthis. Those are the ones he just blew up. Ask them if he's doing a good job. You can't get a hold of anybody. Oh, that's right. Why? Because he blew them up. Great answer.
How much dysfunction is done. Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him. We have the highest recruitment numbers I think we've had in 28 years. No, he's doing a great job. It's just fake news. They just bring up stories. I guess it sounds like disgruntled employees. You know, he was put there to get rid of a lot of bad people, and that's what he's doing. So you don't always have friends when you do that.
Should President Trump?
Big point. You don't always have friends when your job is to be the Axeman. Whether it's in business or politics. If your job is, you need to get in here and clean this up. But, I'm going to tick off a lot of people. You want the job? Here's the job. We need to fix this. And your job is to get rid of people who are dead weight, aren't performing, bad, traitors. Your job is to get rid of them. We'll let Pam Bondi, whatever, it's her job to prosecute them. Your job is, tell me who they are and then get rid of them. That's his job. If you've ever fired people, you know they don't go happily. It's not like, oh, thanks, man. Thanks for firing me. And I hope everything works out for the company. Now, what happens when you fire somebody? Well, one of the first things is they bitched all your employees. One of the second things they do is run on Google and make anonymous reviews. What's the other one? Yelp, and make anonymous reviews. And they send fake emails off to different people. and they do different things until they eventually realize it's futile. Well, this is the same thing happening, but it's happening on a much bigger scale, and these people are freaking out. You trust Caroline Levitt? She posted this. The NPR story is total fake news based on one single anonymous source who clearly has no idea what they're talking about. As the president said this morning, he stands strongly behind Pete Hegseth. Right Angle News reported this. Breaking, an internal executive memo has been sent to top NPR officials stating that the outlet faces defunding after falsely reporting that the White House is seeking to replace Pete Hegseth. Like, oh, that's like serious FAFO. You effed around, now you're really finding out. We're going to expedite things. We're going to shut you down faster. This is how you want to act? You're going to find out. You're going to find out that quick. Miranda Devine, who I interviewed last week. Here we go again. A spurned communications person nobody has heard of writes a Hegseth hit piece. Too bad Trump has a no scalps policy this time. Former top Pentagon spokesperson details month from hell inside the agency. I love how Miranda categorized this. Trump has a, quote, no scalps policy this time. You see, past presidents, Trump himself, when the orcs came a-calling, they would fold because they didn't want the bad publicity, and this person or that person would end up getting relieved of duty and they'd bring somebody else on. Not this time. Not gonna work. Whatever happened with that signal chat, which I'm sure they're still digging into, it ain't gonna happen this time. He is not going to, he didn't get rid of Mike Waltz. He's not going to get rid of Pete Hegseth. And I just can't even think, as much as a military guy as Pete Hegseth is, there's no way I can believe that this guy with his amount of knowledge in the military put his wife on the signal chat when they were discussing information about the military. It's insane. Of course this guy's just making this up. This was Scott Jennings on CNN.
Be standing by Hegseth the way he is, or should he not?
Well, a couple things. One, on the signal issues, I mean, I think the White House initially, when this story first came out a few weeks ago, acknowledged it was a mistake to use signal. So that's number one. Number two, based on the people I've spoken to in the White House today, there is no way they are going to throw Hegseth overboard over this. They will double down on this. They will dig in. That's not the way things work in Trump world. I spoke to someone who'd spoken to the president today, and what you saw publicly is what you're also hearing privately, that he is not interested in giving the media or the Democrats a win here over this signal gate issue. So my expectation is they're going to stick with Hegseth, at least for now, and double down on the fight over these signal issues, which they consider to be over with and not that big of a deal.
Not that big of a deal. Yeah. After what happened last time, you have to think these people would have to be idiots to continuing to use signal. It doesn't make any sense. What you're seeing is the same old media playbook run over and run over and run over again. And why do you see that wrap-up smear being used again? Because it has been a successful strategy by the media. It has been a successful strategy by the Democrats. There's no reason for them to not think this wouldn't work. But it didn't. It's not going to work anymore. This administration is impervious to the BS. They're not playing along. You might scare the rhinos. Who knows what Mitch McConnell and Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins might think, but you're not scaring Trump anymore. Get it through your head. It ain't happening. We all know what the wrap-up smear is. It's easy to recognize, and as you saw Trump's face, it was like, again? This is what you're bringing? This is how you want to come to me? You understand at this point, President Trump is looking at this, one, with utter disgust, and number two, deep inside, he's got to feel really good. Remember I talked to you about the war room and how the different things that he probably had, they're going to react this way and they're going to react that way. I bet you when they got into the war room today and somebody spoke up and said they tried the wrap-up smear. Oh, really? Is that what they got? They probably all laughed. This is where they're going to? Wow, they're in worse shape than we even thought. Man, that was quick. That's it? That's what you got? No deep throat? No hookers in the basement peeing on people? No dossier? The wrap-up smear? That's what you got? Let that sink in. If we are now 3 months to the date, we're 3 months to the date, basically, that Trump has taken office. And already he's reduced the opposition to using a wrap-up smear. They got nothing. Be right back. I just want to say thank you to the fanfare community. And if you're new here, I'd like to take a moment and welcome you. If you watch my videos, you've probably realized at this point that this isn't your usual podcast. The difference is that every single day, I try to make this show an open conversation amongst friends. You see, I believe that speaking to friends, here and in your own circle offline, is the best way to push back against all the lies being told by the Democrats and the media. I encourage people in this community to welcome each other, and in doing so become a source of support for those seeking to unplug from the matrix. If you'd like to communicate on a deeper level, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, but if you'd really like to surround yourself with like-minded patriots, join our free and private X group by going to fanfareshop.org/group. When you join this free group, a few things will happen. One, if you haven't used X before, you can use X without venturing into the sewer that it sometimes can be. Two, you can share content with friends that you meet here. 3, you will get notified every time I go live, so you can't count on YouTube notifications. And 4, and this might be most important, you get content that I can't share on YouTube or Rumble. So please take a moment and join our free and private X group. Just go to fanfareshop.org/group. Remember, it's members only. There are 16,000 plus people in that group right now, getting close to 17,000. To join our free and private members only X group, just go to fanfareshop.org/group. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
I'm absolutely loving the breaks here, so I have the segments in order so I know what's next. I can follow my flow. I hope you guys like it. It's not, we're not just going off on tangents. It's bam to bam to bam. Boom, good. Let's go ahead and take some comments because I wonder how many of you guys are ready for or knew about the wrap-up smear. Let's see, 26 are total loss for the deep state already. There's nothing. They got nothing. Let's hear. Diversions and illusions turn the attention away from Trump's agenda. See, they can try that, but the agenda is moving forward. It's going to keep moving forward. They fear Pete. They keep trying to smear him. It's not working. Absolutely. Judge Alito, yes, I read his dissent. Judge Alito put out a memo about the decision this weekend, and he went off. He really did. If you haven't read that dissent, it's worth reading. Now, speaking of, I guess we can call it dissent, let's look at a few things that President Trump himself put out this weekend, or actually today. Some of this stuff is absolutely scathing. I mean, absolutely scathing. So let's take a look at this stuff and make sure, okay, here's the right window. This is the man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that the courts are trying to save from being deported. He was supposed to be, according to the judge and Democrats, a wonderful father from Maryland. But then they noticed he had MS-13 tattooed onto his knuckles. And lots really bad stories about his past. This is the gang that is perhaps the worst of them all. What is wrong with our country? That is a great great question. And here's the picture, and where he showed they put in the MS-13 so you guys could see exactly what those symbols mean. People are like, oh, he photoshopped it. No, you idiots. He photoshopped the legend per se, but the actual tattoo, M, marijuana, the smiley face, I with the cross, and then the 3 dots for the 13. The guys, you know how you know, and they say it every day. You know how you know he was in MS-13? Nobody talks about this. I'm gonna give you something to listen to. Remember the entire premise of this. The entire premise of the so-called mistake of sending him to El Salvador. Do you remember? I mean, you should, because they talk about it every single day. But what's the mistake that was made? Well, the mistake was sending him to El Salvador. Because if he went to El Salvador, the story goes, a rival gang would be there and his life would be in danger. Even his defense said that. And I thought to myself, is nobody talking about this? Are you seeing where I'm going with this? How can you have a rival gang if you're not in one yourself? I'm pretty sure when I watched the Bloods and the Crips rumble, the Jets and the Shark rumble, the Jets and the Sharks weren't rumbling against civilians. They were only rumbling against other gang members. So how would your life be in danger? How would your life be in grave danger? Is there any other kind? From a rival gang, if you're not in a rival gang. Explain that one to me. Talk to me like I'm 5. See, they stepped in it and nobody's talking about it. Oh, so you're worried about him going to El Salvador. Why? Because there's a gang down there, a rival gang, that would kill him if they knew he was there. A rival gang? Yeah. You mean a gang that's against his gang? A gang that's an opponent of his gang? You mean rival gang? Meaning he's in the other gang. And it keeps being said over and over again, and I'm like, is no one ever going to talk about this, that they're admitting he's in MS-13? I look around and go, just anyone else talking about this? Anyone else mentioning the fact that the rival gangs want to kill someone who's not in a gang? I mean, that's just the opposite of a rival. I played football. My rival, I wanted to beat. I got even more motivated to beat my rival. The other opponents, yeah, I wanted to beat them too, but I was really motivated to beat my rival because I needed to beat them even more because they probably could beat us. And we played them for 20 years and I wanted to tear them apart. Rivals. Have you thought about that? Just asking. Just saying, as the saying goes, just saying. Then you could tell he was on a warpath today. Well, I don't know when this was. This was what time it was, but he wrote this. Oops, wrong one. Wrong window. Okay, let's go here so everybody can see it. How can Biden let millions of criminals into our country totally unchecked and unvetted with no legal authority to do so? Yet I, in order to make up for this assault on our nation, am expected to go through a lengthy legal process separately for each and every criminal alien. As usual, 2 different standards only leading to complete and total destruction of the United States. Make America great again. I told you this afternoon what my theory is. My theory is this was it all along. Bring them all in and let them never, ever be able to deport them. Use this case as the basis of legal precedent that you're not allowed to deport somebody, and you've got a permanent class of people that the Democrats plan on turning into voters to have a one-party solution. I'm confident of that. What else did Mr. Trump say? All right, this one's a long one. I mean, when did he do this one? At 5 o'clock tonight. I'm doing what I was elected to do, removing criminals from our country, but the courts don't seem to want me to do that. My team is fantastic, doing an incredible job. However, they are being stymied at every turn by even the Supreme Court, which I have such great respect for. Winky, winky. But which seemingly doesn't want me to send violent criminals and terrorists back to Venezuela, or any other country for that matter. All right, I want you to pay attention to that, okay? They don't want me to send anybody anywhere. Didn't I tell you that? This is where they're going. Nowhere. That's the first time I've seen him say that and admit it. This was at 5 o'clock, well after what I told you this afternoon. Because when I surmised and came up with that, I'm like, oh, I'm seeing what the plan is here. The plan is to make Garcia the linchpin for no deportations ever. Ever. You can't kick anybody out of the country. And then when I saw this, I was like, did I really step into that? Yeah. Doesn't want me to send violent criminals back to Venezuela or any country. And I wasn't patting myself on the back. I just went, oh my goodness, I think I was right. I think I picked up on this. People that came here legally, the courts are intimidated by the radical left who are playing, quote, ref. Great Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito correctly wants to dissolve the pause on deportations. He's right on this. If we don't get these criminals out of our country, we are not going to have a country any longer. We cannot possibly give everyone a trial because to do so would take, without exaggeration, 200 years, meaning they're never leaving. If the Supreme Court says that, a decision is going to have to be made. He alludes to it right here. We would need hundreds of thousands of trials for the hundreds of thousands of illegals we are sending out of the country. Such a thing is not possible to do. Can't do it. What a ridiculous situation we're in. Make America great again. And that again was at 5:08 p.m. So President Trump is sounding the alarm to you, to me, and saying, hey, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it so no one ever leaves. I was shocked. I'm like, that's what I said. No one ever leaves. They're here forever and ever and ever and ever. And becomes a one-party government, and we are toast. I'm pretty sure I'd be one of the, somewhere on the list in the first 1,000 people, like, click, turn that one off. Confiscation of wealth, property, everything. That's what they want to do. And the Supreme Court wants to play along with that? So I'm telling you what he's doing. He's letting you know I might have to make a decision. And that's going to scare a lot of Republicans. It shouldn't scare MAGA. Because some of us remember that 17th letter person saying the military is the answer, which now maybe is why they're after Pete Hegseth. Oh, Barry, you're way out there right now. Oh, no. If many of us knew long time ago that the military was the answer, if long time ago we were told and we listened and we got red-pilled and said, even with Michael Flynn, the military is the answer. If the military is the play here, if the military is the stopgap, well, then getting rid of the Secretary of Defense is an obligation to dissolve that stopgap. Because as long as Pete Hegseth is clearing out the Army and getting rid of people and making sure, as he said, the most lethal fighting force he can have, and getting rid of Transformers and get rid of all of them who don't believe in a strong America. They suspended the chick that didn't want to put his picture up. So if Pete Hegseth is working his butt off to get rid of all these people, And if the military is the only way to bring this country back to its sanity, then it only serves that he's got to get taken out. You follow there? Because if it gets to a point where President Trump rolls the dice and says, we have nothing to lose, people. We have nothing to lose at this point. Here we go. Game on. He has to have the military. Which now tells you why they took a shot at him and why now they're taking a proverbial shot at Pete Hegseth. So I want you to sit back and dwell on that for the next couple of days with decisions coming out by the court. You can see the courts are fighting tooth and nail. And what are the Democrats saying? Oh, he's defying the courts. They're trying to get it to this point, and it's going to backfire if they cannot get rid of Pete Hegseth. If Pete Hegseth has put a command together that is going to be loyal to the Constitution in America, they need to be ready in the unlikely hope that President Trump has to push that button. I don't mean boom. I mean push the button like go surround Washington, D.C. Let's. You guys think I'm crazy right now, don't you? You guys are like, oh, Barry. Are you thinking that? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Go surround Washington, D.C. Put a big old wall around it. Do what you need to do. And we're going to go 100% like Javier Milei. And we're going to go 100% like Nayib Bukele. And we're going to fix this country once and for all. Now imagine, and then go ahead and surround those news agencies. That's massive. Remember, Gitmo was enlarged to hold 30,000 people. It's not that far-fetched. We're talking, I don't know, 100, 200 people out of Washington in terms of certain senators and congresspeople. Talking about maybe another couple hundred, 5, 6, 7, maybe 1,000 people in the media, so they're not broadcasting BS. There's no coming back from that at that point, because everybody would have to be reinstalled. And I know you're sitting back there going, Barry, this is nuts what you're saying. This is absolutely crazy. I'm like, you don't think that's been gamed out yet? You don't think any of this is by chance? I know there may be some people who will say, hey, I got to unsubscribe. This guy's crazy. Well, then you haven't fully taken and digested that red pill. This has been on the books for quite some time. The military is the answer. It's been stated. It's been talked about. I guarantee you, when we bring General Flynn back on, and I say, General Flynn, can you tell me what it means by the military is the answer? See, people aren't ready for that yet. So I'm telling you now, on April 21st, take a deep breath and realize this may be where we're headed. Barry, you're crazy. You're scaring me. Be afraid. Live life, enjoy life, but understand. And then he posted this at 5:07. And when he posted this, it says, the radical left is only good at playing the ref. They are always threatening our judges. This is judicial intimidation and should be against the law. See, I told you many times, I'm one of those guys who, I don't look here. I don't look where the puck is. I look where the puck is going. And when you see these breadcrumbs being dropped, you got to think to yourself, what's he saying here? And why is it that he's putting this stuff in quotation marks and using these words, judicial intimidation? Notice that's capitalized. There's no reason to capitalize the I in intimidation. And then bold capital letters against the law. Whether he's typing this or somebody else is typing it, they're sending out comms to people. They're letting people know we may have to do what we got to do. I'm just saying, just be ready. Be ready. we have to remember who MAGA is. They will lose because they are evil and they can't win, especially now. Exactly. This has been the plan all along. It had to be this way. Some of you guys, like Lori, you need to help some of the people who don't know what the heck we're talking about. There are many people who think they're woke. They think they know what's about to happen, possibly. They feel confident that they know. Yeah, but again, this thing, you need to choke that down really, really. Big glass of water, choke it down. Choke it down. Because there's no time to go into the blue one and keep following, the matrix and what they're trying to do. The red pill, those of us who took it years ago, that people think we're crazy. And I'm like, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. And we're watching these judges. You're seeing these judges lose their mind. Try to tell the president you can't do this and can't do that. You're seeing the media lie. You're seeing politicians lie. Why would they all be doing that? Why would the whole MK Ultra psyop be executed on the American people right now? Why is it happening? Everything from the jab-ademic forward. I mean, it was happening before that, but now all this stuff is being uncovered, and people are starting to look around and go, huh? Really? Except for the other ones that still are under the spell. They don't even know it. They embrace it. They got 19 boosters. Got Ukraine flags in their bio. Pink transformers and baby removal. That's all just, it's a right. Yeah, they're foregone. They're gone. But if you really want to know, I'm sure there's people in here that can help you understand it. Trump and MAGA are a threat to the long planned agenda of the globalists. Yeah. See, I had thought for a while that we needed to stop calling ourselves Republicans, because Republicans intimated that we were just the same as them. We were the same as Mitch and Lisa and Susan Collins and Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, because they're still in that club. They're the Republicans. They don't like Trump. Well, then why are we still called Republicans? We shouldn't even be called Republicans. We should be called conservatives, MAGA. I don't want anything to do with these people who are helping the other team. It's just not cool. And I've done a bunch of studying with this to try and see if I could see what was going on clearer. And the more I saw, and now you're seeing repetitions of things, wrap-up smears. Are you really going to use a wrap-up smear in 2025 and expect it to work? Especially on a guy like Donald Trump, who's been through all of this stuff? You tried to blame him. You tried to tell people that he was doing stuff with hookers and Russians and letting them pee on him. And you think a wrap-up smear is going to work? Oh, man. My siblings and I have said this all along. My older brother is former Marine, and he said, oh, absolutely. Yeah? Yeah. And so that titular head there, Trump, they couldn't take him out. And I'm hoping that he's surrounded with great security, better security than they gave Kristi Noem. And now they've got their sights set on Pete Hegseth. They can't have Pete continuing to control the military, and Trump knows he has to have Pete controlling the military. So, some crazy moves happening. Yes, 17 told all of us, and that's what funny. 17 told us all this needed to happen. I can't wait to get General Flynn back on here. Now it's time to talk turkey. Now it's time to say, General Flynn, is there any other way? Because what we're seeing, obviously the court system is completely screwed. Is there any other way? And I don't know if he'd feel comfortable saying it, but it's becoming obvious. It's becoming very obvious. What if the Pope didn't die, but he was moved to an underground bunker? I don't know. They got the underground, that's for sure. Lots of stuff underground there. And then, of course, Klaus Schwab calling it a day in the WEF. Barry, did something happen to Christy Nome? Yes. Not personally, not to her person. Hold on. Wait. Let me just take that. I was just looking at something, and I want to talk about it. Where is that? Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I got it. She was having dinner in some restaurant in Washington, and a masked man somehow got close enough to steal her pocketbook with everything in it, her money, her passport, and some other thing. That's not the story. All that stuff is replaceable. Who cares? The fact of the matter is some masked guy in a restaurant got close enough to steal her pocketbook. So I haven't heard yet, was her pocketbook in the bathroom? Was her pocketbook behind the coat check? I don't know. I know when I go out to dinner with Robin, her pocketbook's right next to us. So if somebody snatched her pocketbook walking through the restaurant, where the hell was the Secret Service? I mean, the guy was walking through a mask and he snatches her pocketbook. How did he get that close? Don't know. Haven't heard the story. Somebody posted something here, and I want to talk about it. Because the metaphor is the same. This is not a game. Thought about some damn red pill from some movie. This is reality, and things can go terribly wrong. We don't think it through because you're not thinking. I'm talking about adults. So, Mr. Builder, metaphorically speaking, a metaphor is when you call something and you use an analogy, taking the red pill, opening your eyes, becoming more clear, not literally, not having something stuck in the back of your head. We're talking metaphorically here. And yes, metaphorically speaking, like they do in war games and everything else, yes, it's absolutely parallels what needs to happen. However, I understand how you feel. And if you choose to continue, just like in the movie with this metaphor, think it's not real, be nice. Have at it. Live your life. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not here to convince anybody. Let's see what else here. In Sandy, Barry Schwab's son will take over. He's just bad, if not worse. Oh, he's another Junior Soros. I am never going to try and convince anybody of anything. But I'm sure there's some people out there who can add much more clearly. The 17th letter, yeah, you don't have to say it out loud. Think about that. Think about that, Mr. Builder. Why is it that we still can't even discuss that? Why is that considered a no-go zone? No, it's no big deal, right? We should be able to talk about it. You guys are crazy. So? Just saying. All right, so let's continue with this video and the insanity of the left. Now, I said I wasn't going to talk about Mr. Garcia because I don't think the story any longer is about Mr. Garcia. At this point, the story is about the Democrats. Garcia is just a pawn. He means nothing to them. It's their insanity that we have to watch.
A Maryland man thought to be wrongly deported.
Maryland man Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
A Maryland man wrongfully deported.
A Maryland man who was mistakenly deported.
The Maryland man that was detained.
The Maryland man mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador.
They're not even trying to bring back a Maryland man.
He's a Maryland man.
Maryland man.
The Maryland man. Maryland man. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man.
The Maryland man. Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
The Maryland man they shipped to El Salvador.
The Maryland man who was sent to El Salvador.
This man from Maryland.
A Maryland man became case of a Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
Maryland man. Maryland man.
Maryland man.
That Maryland man.
The case of the Maryland man.
Maryland man.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that's a Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
This Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
He had no intent of returning the Maryland man.
A wrongly deported man. Maryland man, I should say. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland father.
Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, that's the Maryland father.
Maryland father who had been deported.
There's this young man from Maryland, father.
Maryland father who came here at age 16. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, Maryland father.
Maryland father.
Maryland father.
Mistakenly deported father. The Maryland father mistakenly deported.
The Maryland father who was wrongfully deported.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland father from Maryland.
Maryland father.
This Maryland father who was wrongly deported.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland dad.
The Maryland father mistakenly deported.
The Maryland father.
He is not a Maryland man. He is not a Maryland anything. He is an illegal alien from El Salvador with a deportation order from the United States.
There was a study back, I don't know if it was Goebbels or whoever it was that worked with Adolf. And that's where the whole line came out about if you repeat a lie enough, people will believe it. And so what you just saw, I'm sure you've seen clips stitched together before, but when you see it in that way, no matter what it's about, and how they echo the same thing over and over and over again, what you're watching is a psyop. You cannot deny it. That is the definition of propaganda. Just keep saying the same thing over and over, the exact same words. They could have said any words in the dictionary, any vocabulary they wanted to use. They chose to keep repeating that over and over and over again so that people would sit in front of the television and get their eyes like stare straight ahead, and you get the message. This is the message that you have to receive. A lot of people can't unplug, per se, using the analogy again. And so, yeah, I use the analogy of the Matrix because, damn if that don't look like it. When you're just being programmed and programmed and programmed and being told the same thing over and over, you have to unplug. You have to realize what they're doing. 24/7. 24/7. And most people don't know it's happening to them. And then it's happened and there's no recovery. They can't extricate themselves. So when I use the analogy from the movie about the red pill, I'm saying do something. Take whatever you need to take. Take some NyQuil, do something, and realize you're being duped. And you see this kind of stuff, it's kind of scary, don't you think? I mean, that tape probably could have went on for 10 more minutes. Maryland man, Maryland man, Maryland man, Maryland man. You ever notice when you listen to a song, you may think of a song, depending on how old you are, from 40 years ago. There may be certain parts of the song you don't remember. But the chorus, if you remember the song, you will remember every single word. Let me prove it to you. There was a song back when I was like in high school, and it was a song by the band Looking Glass. I don't think they ever had another song on the radio. But they had a song called Brandy. And right now, as I say that word, those of you who are around my age went, oh, I know what it is. Brandy, such a fine girl. What a good wife you could be. Much of the other lyrics, I don't even remember. But I can go through the chorus. And so, why is that? Why can I recall 30, 40 years ago the chorus to a song? Something way back then. I'm like, yeah, I remember that song. You guys remember that song? You're a fine girl. What a good life you would be. And you're probably humming it now and you won't be able to get it out of your head tonight. You're like, damn, Barry, why did you do that? Why did you do that to me? Because it was played over and over and over on the radio. There were times when I was growing up that I thought there were no other bands on the radio but Phil Collins and Hall & Oates. It seemed like Phil Collins and Hall & Oates could have like sang the phone book and they played it over and over and over. Every single one of you, I don't use superlatives much, but I would say almost every single one of you knows, I can feel it coming in the air. You may not know any of the words, but you know that drum solo. I can say a couple notes and you're gonna remember it. How about if I said something like, what songs did you want to hear? You automatically know. That's how the live version of Freebird began. What songs did you want to hear? Freebird! I can't hear you. Freebird! I heard it then. I get chills just thinking of that, because that stuff, I can't get... Why is that still here? Why is that still here 30, 40 years ago? Because we heard it all the time. When it wasn't on the radio, it was on a car, on a cassette tape. If it wasn't on a cassette tape, an 8-track, it was at a party we went to. We couldn't get away from it. There's a lady that... What? You know the rest of that. You may not even realize... Oh, man, I even thought about Stairway to Heaven in like forever. I was like 17. And most people mumble most of the words to a song. And then they finally, and you ever sit back and go, why do I remember that song? All that glitters is gone. Why do I remember that? Because you're seeing it happen right now. No, I don't think it was any psyop, but it's the same execution. Play the top 40 over. People are going to hear these songs. They're going to buy the records. And so we've all been conditioned. In fact, I believe, I don't know if it was Freud, but it was called classic conditioning. Because when you put classic conditioning together with this, there are some of you who heard some of those songs and can remember the places you were, the parties you were in high school, just because of that song. Like, oh yeah, I remember being at Jimmy's house. Yeah, I remember when that song... I remember the first time I went to a concert because 38 Special was playing. And I'm like, 38 Special and Uncle Ted. That's how long ago. Uncle Ted opened for 38 Special. And I remember hearing the song while my friend was passed out in the bathroom because he got drunk. How does that happen? Because you associate. All right, so enough about music. We could go on this for hours. But what I just tried to illustrate to you, and to that gentleman who's like, it's just a game. Really? Is it a game? Or have you been doing it forever? And just didn't realize you were being programmed. Stuff that you probably didn't remember. Barry, how did that just pop in my head? The same way, Maryland man. Now people walk down the street, they're in the store, Maryland man. Oh, that's the guy. That's the guy they, what? Oh, they deported by mistake. Why? Because they kept saying it over and over. Just say it. It's real. And I know it's real because I've been in marketing most of my life, and I know how to make people remember jingles. I was trained on how to make people know that they needed a product that they didn't need. I sold pizzas with Papa John's. I sold trinkets with Party City. I'm like, you don't need that clang dangler. You don't really need that. Oh, yes, you do. You need it for graduation parties. You need it for Mother's Day. You need this and that. And you had to get the plastic coffee table. Better ingredients. Better pizza. Papa John's. Ain't nobody here going, oh, I never heard that before. Yes, you did. Yeah, you've heard it. We played it over and over again. even after he's no longer part of the company. Better pizza, better ingredients, Papa John's. You see, the same stuff that the Nazis used is still used today. And it's used today because it works. It absolutely works. And you're seeing it used in a nefarious way. I spent some time on that, but I just wanted you guys to realize this isn't, the gentleman was right. This isn't a game. It's real. It's really happening. But you have to be in a position to go, I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. Because then they get you. Just like every single one of those tunes got you 40 years ago. 40 years ago. And you find yourself singing when it comes on the radio again and you know every single word. Well, maybe not every single word, but you know what I mean.
Who did pay for this trip?
This was an officially cleared, congressional trip, cleared on a bipartisan basis. Yes, like every other trip.
You also, as chairman, have some duties and responsibilities, and that is signing off on travel for members of Congress who maybe want to go to El Salvador to meet with people who have been deported. What's your take on this? What are you going to do with this?
Well, I had two members of the House Oversight Committee, Garcia from California and Frost from Florida, and they sat there silent during the entire Biden investigation, during the entire investigation of Border Patrol and Mayorkas that we had in the Oversight Committee. If anything, they were obstructive. They weren't concerned. They showed no concern for the lack of our national security or the violation of our southern border security laws. But then this one person that the liberal media picked up on that was deported to El Salvador, they went crazy before it came out that he was actually an MS-13 gang member, and they wanted me to authorize funding at my committee's expense to send them down to El Salvador and meet with this person for a photo op and to have margaritas and enjoy the sunny weather. And I obviously denied their request. We're not going to spend a penny of taxpayer dollars for liberal Democrats to continue their stunts to try to appease the radical left-wing base when the American people spoke loud and clear on Election Day. They want our southern border secured, and they want criminal illegals deported, and that's exactly what Donald Trump's doing.
It's really important that
So speaking about mistakes, it appears that Senator Van Hollen from Maryland slipped one by James Comer. See, he was able to charge his off to the government. Yeah, I just came down here. It's the same as anything else. I just put the credit card down, have it bill me. I'm good. But you said that on Sunday. And you allowed Comer probably when he walked in the office today. Whoa. How'd he pay for this? Oh, heck no. That ain't happening again. And then these other ones plan on going down there. They're not getting a dime. You see, you did a fast one. You did it over the weekend. Comer probably wasn't there, and whoever was responsible for doing the debit just said, like Wally Nigerian, oh, it's approved. These things are approved. Because he didn't have counter orders. These idiots who decide to go down now, they didn't have that. No, you're not getting any money. And I'm also pretty sure, confident, that a call went out to President Bukele and said, these people are not coming down on official business. They are doing this for photo ops and to drum up, crap. So you do what you want with them. I can't tell you how to run your country, winkety wink wink, but I can tell you these people they're not down there to help you people in El Salvador. They're there to try and, make waves.
Trump is defying a 9-0 decision of the Supreme Court to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia back home to the United States.
Wow, very quickly, just in the first sentence. In the first sentence alone, you tell two lies. Trump is defying a 9-0 decision that told him he had to bring Garcia back home. By now, you guys are recognizing it because they're doing it the same thing I told you about the song. They're just repeating it. In addition to Maryland Man, they keep saying, bring him home, bring him home, bring him home. And they keep saying he's defying a 9-0 Supreme Court. Neither of which are true.
Lower courts have affirmed that. The administration has said they sent him here by accident, and this is a massive due process crisis in our country. Donald Trump cannot defy the Supreme Court. We've got to raise the attention, not just in the U.S., but here, and demand his release.
So what's going to happen? Please. What's going to happen when the Supreme Court says, hell, let's clarify? No, he doesn't have to bring him back. I can't imagine what these people are going to do. They're going to lose it, because right now they must have read the wrong decision, but they think the Supreme Court, or at least they want to tell people, because they want to obfuscate, that the Supreme Court said he had to, quote, bring him back home. And the decision said nothing of the sort. So now, this woman, who's one of the Maryland man's attorneys, she decides to go on CNN. She gets all tangled up. She got tangled up on a home field. She tripped on the grass of a home field. Listen to this.
Administration, as they are supposed to facilitate, that is the important word there, facilitate your client's return to the U.S. They've taken a very conservative reading of what that entails. If that does continue on, I hear you saying you're expecting to learn exactly what have they done to facilitate that. What's your legal recourse?
I don't think it's a conservative position. The word facilitate means help out, support. The president of El Salvador said, no thank you, we don't need any help, we don't need any support. He's never coming back. So actually it doesn't really matter what President Trump has to say. It doesn't matter what the order said. The president of El Salvador, who now has this man in his custody, said, no, he's not coming back. And there's not a judge in this country that has jurisdiction over El Salvador. But this is his attorney, or one of his attorneys, and I'd hate to have this woman representing me.
So we will know more this week, and then next week we'll be able to see what relief we have in this case. I mean, the thing is here that each court that has looked at this case has said that facilitate is an active verb. What that means is that the government can't simply do nothing. They can't simply say, okay, well, if Mr. Abrego Garcia turns up at our border, we'll let him in. They have to actively assist in his return to the United States. And that is what the Supreme Court has ordered them to do. And the fact that they feel as though facilitate can mean that they can quite essentially do nearly nothing is really just at odds with that decision.
And a chick from CNN is not asked, well, what are they supposed to do? If we're concurrent on a definition of facilitate, meaning to assist, I could concur with that. There's nothing to assist. The president of El Salvador said no. So what are they supposed to do at this point? And it doesn't get asked. It never does.
And should really be shocking to the American people, because what that means, in essence, is that somebody, as the Fourth Circuit has said, can be whisked away to a foreign prison, and then the U.S. government says that there's nothing that they can do actively to assist in their return to the United States.
I read that Fourth Circuit decision, and no, it did not say that. It did not say that anyone could be whisked away. Sorry, you're lying. And of course, she says nothing.
Extremely scary notion.
The Trump administration has put out several statements, as you're aware, documents that contain allegations about your client, including that he was violent towards his wife, that he is a member of the MS-13 gang. What can you say?
President Trump has put out allegations that he was violent towards his wife. No, the wife put out allegations that he was violent towards her. She swore out a restraining order. What was he? Oh, you're mad because those documents came out. Oh, I got it.
Say about those allegations.
Here's what I can say about the allegations. Our government admitted from the beginning that this was an error. And then afterwards, to try and justify this error, they try and find dirty laundry in our client, which really is...
Dirty laundry. the euphemism of all time. Dirty laundry. It wasn't a big deal that he whooped up on his wife, that she had to get restraining orders twice. And it's no big deal that he's got MS-13 tattooed on his hand. Those are dirty laundry. They're insignificant. They don't matter. And it's just President Trump trying to, just drudge things up. She swore out the warrant. Years ago.
Irrelevant. First of all, their evidence is extraordinarily thin. But even if there was something there, that's really irrelevant, because the whole issue is that our client was deported to the one country where there's a final order saying that he's more likely or not to be persecuted or tortured if he were to remain in that country.
I'm waiting for her to say why. I'm waiting for her to say because of a rival gang. I've read the evidence. I've showed you the evidence. I showed you the order. She's not going to say it.
And now he was deported to that one isolated country. They have to facilitate his return. And once they do so, they are most welcome to put up any of this evidence in court. But to justify their own admitted mistake by trying to find all these justifications, reasons, dirty laundry, is just really saddening, disingenuous, and frightening.
She says disingenuous. What the hell have you been doing? Everything you just said on CNN, which they let you say, that's completely disingenuous. Dirty laundry. Gotcha. Nothing? No evidence? So she did give you a clue, which is the reason why I just showed you that. She did give you a clue based on what I had said earlier, what their plan is. See what she said there. She goes, they're welcome to bring him back here and then go to court and show us all the evidence. See, I don't think she was so nervous being on television, she realized what she just said there. So the order that's in place is that he's already supposed to be deported. And the order said, don't do it to El Salvador because he might be in danger. There's nothing that says, bring him back and then show a court why you need to deport him. That was a Freudian slip, a slip of the tongue. She wasn't supposed to say that because she gave away exactly what their plans are. They have no intentions, none, of letting this guy being deported to another country. Not gonna happen. As soon as his feet touch the dirt in the United States, they're gonna have a judge say we need to have a new hearing. Well, we already have an order. That's before. Now we're gonna just throw that out and start all over again. And 3 years later, he'd still be sitting here free. Oh, they're not gonna put him back in jail. Oh no, he's a Maryland man. Good father. Beats on his wife occasionally. She just told you what the game plan is. And she didn't realize she said it. Well, you're welcome to show us, bring the evidence. No, there's already an order. We're not going to retry the case, except one of these local judges will say that.
What do you know? Is there any chance you'll be meeting with Abrego Garcia while you're there?
No.
Well, we're actually about to do a press conference to speak a little bit about this, but we got word at the embassy that our request has been denied by the government.
Be gone. Get out of here. Get out. Your request has been denied. Go away.
For government here locally, they say it's because we're not here on an official capacity. This is part of the reason why Representative Robert Garcia and I sent a letter to Chairman Comer of the Oversight Committee asking for this to be an official CODEL. But we're not giving up. We're going to continue. We have more meetings scheduled for the rest of the day. But part of this, too, is making sure that we keep the conversation alive. We're building off of the trip of Senator Van Hollen, and we're not the first members here, and we're not going to be the last.
A, we have to keep the conversation going. A, we need to keep the propaganda flowing. That's what he means. And now there's more of them coming down here? Or there? More? Is that all they have to do is fly to El Salvador? There's nothing else pressing? Nothing else going on in the American government right now. Y'all need to be in El Salvador. You want to have like a congressional building built down there so you can fly in there and still have meetings and maybe appear by Zoom because you got better work to do in El Salvador? You are taking the United States government hostage, basically, flying to El Salvador to do everything you can for someone who's not even a United States citizen. That is the very definition of telling America, F you. We don't have to wonder. You can see it clearly. They don't care about you. They're doing no work to help America. Nothing. They're down there in El Salvador on a vacation, probably sipping margaritas and trying to, keep the conversation going, keep the propaganda flowing.
Congresswoman Maxine Dexter here, coming to you from El Salvador. I flew here last night with 3 of my colleagues to demand that Kilmar Abrego Garcia be released. He is being held in...
I want you to imagine another country coming here, sending representatives of their government here to America, making videos saying, I am here to demand that XYZ country give me what I want. I'm going to stamp my feet. I'm not leaving until I get what I want. Really? You think that would go over well? No, it wouldn't.
Violation of a Supreme Court order expressly telling the Trump administration to effectuate and facilitate his coming home.
Challenge you to show me that. I challenge you to show me where it says facilitate and effectuate him coming home. Not by accident. You're hearing it over and over. You probably think of Barry. I get it. But these people are evil. They're evil. She's looking right in the camera and lying.
That is being ignored. This is not just a threat to all people in the United States who could be illegally abducted, detained, and transported internationally against their will. But it is...
Why are these people not flying around trying to find 400,000 or 500,000 kids? You mean abducted, transported against their will? Find it odd? You see the evilness here? They can't even help it. They're telling you they don't care about you. There's people in America who can't find their children, who've been, quote, abducted and trafficked and things done with them. And you're supposed to care about this Maryland man. Doesn't make any sense. What until you start seeing the big picture. Get him back. Nobody gets deported.
A fact that our president does not recognize the branches of government and the balances of power. This is what we all have been calling a constitutional crisis, yet it is more severe than anything we've seen. We cannot stay silent. We must stay loud. I am here because I refuse to wait for something to happen. We are here to release Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Good afternoon.
Okay, now we're seeing this. So you need to take heed and understand what these people are doing at this point. It's an all or nothing play. This is what they want to see happen, and they're not leaving. So you're talking about, quote, a constitutional crisis. You may cause an international incident. What happens if Bukele says, you got to leave now? I've already denied you. Now I don't want you in my country. You think we're going to have to send the military down into El Salvador because you're going to go down there and act a fool? Think about what these people are doing.
Everyone, I'm Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari. I represent Phoenix, Arizona. I am here with my colleagues to demand that Donald Trump facilitate the safe return home for Mr. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. The facts of this case are abundantly clear. Mr. Garcia was abducted. He is a father.
I think sometime last week I told you that was going to be the new narrative. He was abducted. You see, because now they're going to start trying to do kidnapping cases against Trump. He was abducted. These people know the words they're saying. You need to recognize them. See how the shift was. He wasn't deported. He was abducted. We need to charge President Trump and everybody associated with him with a capital crime. You can go to jail for 20 years. You crossed state lines. You crossed international lines when you abducted this person. This is really getting evil beyond what they normally are.
He is a husband. He's a union member. His union leadership is advocating for him through the building trade, saying that he needs to come home. And he was wrongly deported here to a foreign prison in El Salvador. And our government has admitted that mistake. The Supreme Court of the United States, the highest court in the land, has said his return home must be facilitated by the United States government. So we are here today to demand that he is returned as soon as possible. We had a meeting this morning with the embassy here in El Salvador, and from what we have heard, there is no reason for me to believe that our administration, the Trump administration, is doing anything to facilitate his safe return home, and that is simply unacceptable. It's against the Constitution, and it defies what we hold so dear in our country, which is due process and the rule of law. And as my colleagues have said, there are so many others. I represent Arizona's 3rd district, an extremely diverse district where at our university, 50 foreign students had their visas revoked unexpectedly. We don't have...
Thank you, Elvira. You have now told us even more. See, it's not ending. This isn't about this dude. It's beginning to enlarge now. It's everybody who's been deported, everybody who's had their visas rescinded. It's no longer about this one guy. She just said it. Oh, it's hundreds of people. Got to bring them all back. They all got to come back. See, you're hearing it now. They don't even realize, I think, when they're saying it, because nobody there is questioning them on it. I mean, like, wait. Excuse me, ma'am. Yeah. What do you mean all these other people? Oh, they all get to come back? You want them all to come back to the United States? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Afghan refugees who've received notice that they need to return home. We have people who have been detained, a veteran detained and deported by ICE, a veteran who served 2 tours in Afghanistan. So this is not just about Kilmar. We need Kilmar to come home, but we are so concerned that if this is allowed to fly, that the Trump administration will be emboldened to continue. And since we were not able to get the answers we need today from the embassy, we have written a letter just as of 30 minutes ago to Secretary of State Marco Rubio demanding daily proof of life for Mr. Abrego
Garcia. We wrote letters, really strong worded letters telling Marco Rubio we need daily proof of life. Who's it from? Some chick in Arizona. Get bent. Go away. Be gone. Yeah, who are you? Who are you to tell the Secretary of State you demand proof of life every single day? These people are nuts.
Demanding he has access to counsel, and of course, finally demanding his safe return home. And we will not stop until this is complete.
Okay, so they have a one-way ticket. They're not coming back. It's like a hunger strike. They're going to stay in El Salvador, and that's it. We're done. We're staying here. Nobody's going to make us think otherwise. Too bad. Luckily, there's sane people, absolute sane people, like Stephen Miller. Give it to him, Steve.
I'm almost at a loss for words for how outrageous it is. Here's an individual, the man who has been deported to his home country of El Salvador, who has been repeatedly documented by multiple federal and state authorities to be a member of MS-13, one of the most violent and ruthless criminal organizations on planet Earth, which is now a designated foreign terrorist organization, and an individual who has been incredibly implicated in human smuggling and human trafficking, an individual who is a documented woman beater, somebody who has viciously assaulted a woman in ways that
this video sounds low to me. Can you guys hear this? Let me know if you can hear Steven talk. For some reason, in my headset, it sounds very, very low. But I'll keep playing it as long as you guys can hear it.
That shock the human conscience. That is who the Democrat Party is going to provide aid, solace, and comfort to, not to Senator Van Hollen's own constituents, like the Morin family. Rachel Morin was viciously beaten, brutally raped, and murdered, and her mother never even got a phone call from Senator Van Hollen. Or Kayla Hamilton, a young girl who was attacked in a public restaurant, raped in the bathroom, and beaten to death and murdered by an illegal alien that Joe Biden set free into the country. None of those people elicit human sympathy from Senator Van Hollen. How broken is that man's heart? How broken is his conscience that he doesn't have even an ounce of empathy or time or concern to share with those families? Or how many of his citizen constituents have been killed by the fentanyl that Joe Biden allowed into this country, by the cartels that made a fortune off of human trafficking and smuggling into this country, or the children in his state that cannot even get a good education or good health care because of the mass migration that has occurred into his state? None of that concerns him in the least. No, his heart is reserved for an illegal alien who's a member of a foreign terrorist organization. I'm beyond appalled.
All right, so sometimes these cuts, because they're outside, you would think in 2025 that they would have like their sound systems and everything actually working well. But if you didn't hear him, what Stephen A. Smith was like, the guy's not coming back. He's been convicted. That's it. Game over. Not gonna be any different. And he keeps repeating that because they keep saying they're going to bring him, quote, home. Not coming home. Not going to happen. All right, so I'll take some comments in about
back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Hello. Sometimes those breaks are perfect, enough time to run to the little boy's room and get back here. Why is everybody screaming for Hegseth, yet nobody is crying for Mike Waltz to go? Good question. Good question. Let's see here. They are shills for the deep state, not politicians. Yep, they're doing their job for sure. Michael Sheldon. Sheldon? Yeah. Good versus evil. That's for sure. Let me see. Miller doesn't mince his words. Nope, he never has. He calls it like it's supposed to be called. Now, I saw somebody earlier talking about... did I say Stephen Smith? I'm sorry, Stephen Miller. That Comer is in the House, and he's not in charge of the Senate money, but in any regard, the House has the purse string. So he does have some ability to stop money from going out the door and them doing some of their stupid stuff. Well, it's been a while since I played a 10 clip. I'm going to play that now. What did I call it? 10 spot. 10 spot. All right, let's talk. Let's listen to the 10 spot so I don't have you guys all here. You guys have been here for a long time. We're here 4 hours earlier today. Love it. Here we go.
Here's the big finish. 10 stories that you just gotta hear. Number 10.
Well, I think the message that comes from the Democratic Party is a good message. The problem we've got, is that we have to depend upon the media to deliver it. If we have the Washington Post, for instance, caving to this wannabe dictator, and we've got other media entities that seem to rather push a narrative that will bring eyes to their newspapers or to their television sets and not really give a fair hearing or reporting to what we're doing. And I have to rely upon people like yourself. You do a great job of this. That's why I like coming on your shows on the weekends, because you do a real good, substantive reporting of what the issues are around us. But when you got people saying we're not going to fact check, we're not going to worry about whether or not you're telling the truth, and just let the reports go out there, that's what's killing us as Democrats.
Number.
Oh, sometimes I sit back and I watch some of this stuff that I put together, and it actually makes me laugh. So, what's the guy? Clyburn. James Clyburn is saying the Democrats are having problems. He's acknowledging they're having problems, but the problems is that the press isn't enough in their corner. And a guy from MSNBC, like, yeah, right. We need more people in the press talking more about what Democrats. You know you've completely lost. You know you've got no game left when you're complaining that the media isn't pushing your side of the story hard enough. That's got to make Trump really happy. It's like, really? You're going to complain to the people that you're not getting enough positive publicity. Wow.
9.
Exactly right, Griff. This is about who controls all those, and there's about 675 federal trial judges spread out all over the country. And some of them have been bringing the federal government, bringing President Trump's agenda to a screeching halt, even though they don't have anybody, say, who works for the government or any of the illegal aliens or any of the spending in their own courtrooms. And so what's going on here, I think it's important to understand, is that the Supreme Court is already signaling that they're very sympathetic to the Trump administration. The Supreme Court scheduled oral argument for May 15th. It never hears cases in May. Usually they'd be done their business and they'd be sending out opinions by now. They've called basically a special session in order to hear President Trump's claims that there should not be unlimited nationwide injunctions, but that they should be under the control of the Supreme Court. Whether you agree or disagree with President Trump's order on birthright citizenship, they may not even get to the question, because the key thing here is for the Supreme Court to put an end to these 675 trial judges who all think they can run foreign policy.
Can you even imagine if Norm Eisen, Mark Elias, and some of these nuts that they have that are creating this lawfare, if they're not allowed to get nationwide injunctions directly from a district court, what happens to the Democrat Party? So at that point, I think Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen and a couple people have said, if that bomb drops from the Supreme Court, if the Supreme Court finally says, you can't do it, you got to stop. We can't have 675 different legal opinions. We got to rein this in. You people no longer have any power to issue nationwide injunctions. Sorry, we're the only court that's going to do that. You are going to hear people screaming across the country. They rely on it. Their entire strategy is dependent upon running and shopping and going to the judge they need most. And if that is taken away from them, even by the Supreme Court, Trump's going to take it away from them anyway. He's just going to ignore the district courts. He has been. That's why they're all freaking out. But if the Supreme Court comes out and says, you're done, no more, you're not allowed to do that, which Congress could make it happen already, but they're not. But if the Supreme Court stops it, you're going to see them burning stuff in the street again. You are definitely going to see them go crazy, crazy, crazy. There's no doubt that will happen, because they have to have that. It is an integral part of the Democrat strategy. They planned this for years. Norm Eisen and Mark Elias, you have to remember, they have been planning this for years. Just like Trump's been wargaming, they've been wargaming. They know what judge to go. Go to this judge, go this jurisdiction. They've known it for quite some time. They played it perfectly, and now it's about to blow up in their face, and they're not ready for it.
Number 8.
So I like that idea, and it's a complement to something that we need to be doing right now, which is engaging in far more work of transnational democratic solidarity with the democratic governments and the democratic movements and peoples and parties of the world to try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us. But implicit in it should be the idea that if and when we come back to power, and we will, we are not going to look kindly upon people who facilitated, to use a word of the day, who facilitated authoritarianism in our country. Because that's an assault on our Constitution and on our people.
Yeah. So the problem with what Jamie Raskin just said is that they're giving interviews and nobody ever pushes back. In that little 30-second clip, 1, he threatened other countries. 2, he said fascism. 3, he said authoritarianism. And the guy asking him questions didn't say to him, well, wait a second, why are you confused? You're accusing him of being a fascist. That's not right, Mr. Raskin. And let him explain himself. They never do. You're accusing him of being an authoritarian. Can you explain yourself how you feel that he's being an authoritarian? They never do. And so they put out these crazy statements, and the people that they represent don't understand. And that's why they run around the street calling people fascists and Nazis and everything else. Saw a comment here I wanted to feature. Wait and see, the Supremes are compromised. 17 said it, 3 of them, Roberts and adoption. All right, so if I were to agree with you, then you would then have to agree the military is the only way. At some point, many of you are going to have to start seeing what's going on. And just imagine between now and Friday, a decision comes out and the Supreme Court says, nope, not only do you have to facilitate and effectuate, you need to go pick up this guy and you can't deport anybody. Okay. Better be ready for it.
Number 7.
The Justice Department called the deportation of Mr. Abrego Garcia a, quote, administrative error. The Supreme Court has ordered the government to facilitate Mr. Abrego Garcia's return. Should Mr. Abrego Garcia be returned to the United States, Senator?
Well, Chris is my friend, and I respect him. And he's certainly entitled to his opinion, but in my judgment, he is utterly and gloriously wrong. I mean, most of this gauzy rhetoric is just rage bait. Unless you're next level obtuse, you know that Mr. Garcia is never coming back to the United States, ever. And that's not because of President Trump. That's because of Mr. President Bukele. He said up front in the Oval Office that he was not going to return Mr. Garcia. No federal judge, even Jay Wilkinson, has authority over a sovereign country. Besides that, it should not go unnoticed that Mr. Bukele is much closer to President Xi in China than he is to President Trump. Xi is spending billions of dollars to build infrastructure in El Salvador, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've discussed this case. The final point I would make, whether you agree with it or not, is Bukele hates MS-13, and Mr. Garcia allegedly is a member of MS-13. The other point I would make is that Chris says Mr. Garcia's had no due process. He's been in front of 17 judges, some of them twice. Probably 5 maybe.
Did you know that? You know, this guy that they say hasn't had his due process has been in front of 17 judges, some of them twice. Nope, they never talk about that. And think about how many people in the Senate and Congress have said, he's never coming back. And again, the MSNBC anchor here, Christian Welker, she never asked him. What do you mean? What do you mean he's never coming back? He's never coming back. How do you know this? Because he's in another country and the president of that country said, no, you can't have him. So I don't care how you define the word facilitate. There is no possible definition of facilitate that means kicking in the door and extraditing this guy like he's a prisoner of war. It's not going to happen. And so everything they're doing, every bit of what they're doing is completely futile. A president of the country said, it's over. Unless he changes his mind, which then the guy would still be deported, which I'm telling you, that's not going to happen. But in any event, facilitate does not mean twist Bukele's arm.
$1 worth of legal fees, and he hadn't had to pay a dime. Final point I'd make, look, this was a screw-up, in my opinion. The administration won't admit it, but this was a screw-up. Mr. Garcia was not supposed to be sent to El Salvador. He was sent to El Salvador. The Democrats saying, look, you know, we told you Trump is a threat to democracy. This is going to happen every other Thursday afternoon. I don't see any pattern here. I mean, you know, someday pigs may fly, but I doubt it.
Numbers.
Oh, that man has a way with words. He certainly does. Now, understand, he said the Trump administration made a mistake by sending the guy over there. He's got an opinion, but he also says there's no way he's coming back. Mistake or not, at this point, it doesn't matter. The president of another sovereign country said, no mas, you're not going anywhere. I got him. Period. End of story. Bye.
6.
I think they're getting desperate because, I mean, the reason we're seeing this extreme amount of hatred and violence is because we're actually succeeding in getting rid of corruption and waste. If we weren't succeeding in getting rid of corruption and waste, they wouldn't care. But we are succeeding. Thanks. Without President Trump, this would be impossible. So I'd just like to say, you know, it's only possible with this president.
Number 5.
I put that in there because a lot of people were concerned that this was all a diversion away from Doge. It's not. In fact, it's helping Doge because the media is all looking over here. Doge is still doing what they got to do. You can tell this because there's stories I'm going to talk about tomorrow is Harvard. Harvard's freaking out because they don't have the billions coming from the government, which is really weird because they're supposedly worth $50 billion of endowment, but now they don't have enough money to pay their bills. So where'd the money go? And Princeton, and we're finding out these Ivy League institutions don't have any money. So they were government-run operations the entire time? They're like, oh, it's just illiquid. We've got it tied up in real estate and this. And we'll sell your stuff. It's pretty simple. Self-fund. Why are you and I, who didn't go to Harvard, why are we having to pay Harvard's bills? And all this stuff is now being exposed on a daily basis. But so no, Doge is not going away. In fact, he's still a target. They filed some other thing today that he had to be fired because his terms expired. All kinds of crazy stuff. No, it's still happening. It is definitely still on, and they're shredding and they're cutting and they're trying to sue everybody because, you know, it's turning it off the spigot. I don't know if you've been following the Harvard stuff, but man, it's getting real deep.
Has Harvard asked your state for any support? There's no way a state can begin to make up for the cuts to federal funding.
All right, so it's 2025, and it's 2025, and we're now just finding out that these major pillars of education don't have anything, that they've been propped up by the government. And this is the Governor Healy of Massachusetts, where Harvard is, and she's saying, it's not our responsibility. Well, guess what, honey? It ain't mine either. It's not my responsibility to prop up Harvard. Your business, my business, we don't say, hey, listen, I can't pay my bills this month. Can the government send me a check? I need to pay employees. I need to get some more equipment. No, but Harvard can? Princeton can? These people can't exist on their own? And you're saying, we can't do it. Well, the state can't do it. The government's got to do it. She actually says this.
The cuts that Donald Trump has made to education, to health care, food for kids, heating assistance for seniors. He just cut off FEMA, disaster relief for our states the other day. And as governor, I'm going to do everything I can to protect my residents, to protect our state, to protect our economy. But he makes it really difficult. I'll give you an example, Weijia. I filed and signed the largest housing bill in history. I want to build more housing so that we can drive down costs. Donald Trump comes in with tariffs. Where do we get our lumber from? Canada. Where do we get other building materials from? Mexico. He's just made everything more expensive and more difficult. And states will do the best they can. Governors like myself will do the best that we can. But there's no way that states can begin to make up for or course correct these failings by the President of the United States and his administration when it comes to managing the economy.
So you just had a governor of a Northeast state saying, I can't manage my state. There's nothing I can do. Without cheap wood from Canada and other stuff from Mexico and government funding, there's nothing I can do. So you're not a state governor. You are a federal affiliate. Understand, she just admitted on video, her and other states can't exist. If they don't get federal dollars, they can't exist. Let that think in. It's one of the most expensive states. It's got income tax, I believe, out the wazoo, and things are expensive in the Northeast, and you're telling people on camera you can't afford to run your state. What has happened? What has happened with our local governments who now are telling us, because Trump cut this and cut that, you can no longer sustain yourselves. Your residents are screwed because you're a horrible manager. And you just have your hand out and you're saying, I can't do this. I can't. Well, what makes it that I have to pay for Massachusetts? I live in Florida. I'm sorry if people can't get new housing. That's your problem. How is it my problem? How is it the people in this chat's problem that Massachusetts can't pay their bills? That's how bad this entire thing has gotten at this point. They expect you to sympathize with them and empathize that we can't pay our bills without federal government. Well, guess what? There's people in this chat who can't pay their bills because you're sucking the life out of them with taxes. And we shouldn't be having to pay Massachusetts bills. And now we're starting to find out. See, now all of you are starting to hear this from different states. Oh, we can't afford to do this. Harvard can't run. I mean, what's the next thing we're going to hear? The NFL can't run without the government? So everything that you've been paying, April 15th was a week ago, and you're cutting a check to the government for Massachusetts. Makes me sick.
4.
On the political side, this Democrat senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, posts this picture of him meeting with the guy at like a restaurant. This is a bad look, man. If you want to make this guy the hill to die on for Democrats, like he is the picture of America's freedom stolen, you had to know that this was going to not look great. okay? He does not look like he's struggling, this guy. Look at the glassware. El Salvador's president immediately seized on the opportunity. Now, did they yank him out of a prison and bring him here? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Perception's reality, okay? And he made this snarky tweet. So that's the politics of it.
Number 3.
Seems like Chris Cuomo is going to have some other stuff to worry about. At least his family is. So in case you haven't realized it or didn't hear the news, James Comer, the House, has referred Andrew Cuomo to the Department of Justice for fraud. Don't know if it's going to go anywhere. We don't know if Pam Bondi's ever going to do any arrests. Don't know if anything's going to happen with Letitia James, but New York's in a really bad way. So now you've seen 2 states. I tied that together with the Cuomo thing, but you've got 2 states right next to each other up there. Connecticut's in the way. But you got New York and you have Massachusetts, and things aren't looking good for some of these states. And the only way they survive at this point is to call Trump names and take your money. That's it. That's all they can do.
There's no doubt Trump wants some revenge. Sure. Right? On the law firms, on press, whatever, you know. But let's not beat around the bush. All these institutions did want to cancel Trump. Yeah. Did want him inoperable in mainstream public. You know, I think the biggest mistake, and I did not follow the Pied Piper on this one, which was this idea that we deplatform everybody post January 6th. This is a democracy. This is the First Amendment. And
clip before was Chris Cuomo. This is Chuck Todd. So in 2 clips back to back, you're seeing what were venerable Democrat operatives in the media now going, hey, I didn't know anything about this. It wasn't me. Oh, that's not a good optic. And I didn't think everyone should be deplatformed. Why weren't you saying this when we were being deplatformed? It's easy to say it now. Elon Musk owns Twitter, X. Where were you when people, even like my wife, were getting booted off of X? Nothing. Didn't say a word. Why not? Didn't say anything. Where were you when they told me I had to delete post after post? Where were you when, we can't say certain things on this channel? Where are you guys? Now all of a sudden you're like, well, I wasn't one of those. I didn't think people should be deplatformed. Your silence was complicit. It shows that you were complicit. Now it's easy to talk because now you're starting to save your own butts because now you got booted off of NBC and you're trying to start your own podcast. We see through you.
all of a sudden now you've got law firms or what's going on and all this stuff. It's like, look, that was a bad moment. That doesn't mean, look, I understand the passion of that moment.
Right. Yeah.
But my God, the whole point of the Constitution is to protect minority rights, not majority rights. Yeah. The whole damn thing was written to protect minority rights. And so, yeah, you may not like that speech, but speech is speech. And the decision to deplatform bit mainstream media in the ass. Why? Okay, Donald Trump started his own information ecosystem. How do you like them apples now?
Right.
And then, you know, I sit here, it's like traditional media, oh, what's happened?
Yeah.
You did try to deplatform them.
Yeah.
It was a mistake. Somebody ought to come up and say, this was a mistake.
You could do it, but you won't. You could call MSNBC. You used to work at NBC News and say, hey, listen, I just saw yesterday the president was talking, he was giving a speech from the Oval Office, and you cut away because you didn't want him talking about the guy in El Salvador. They're still doing it. Nothing's changed. They won't show certain things Trump's going to talk about. Nope. He's talking on deaf ears, and he's trying to get his podcast up and running. So it's crazy. I wanted to show you a comment. Come on, Paul. Paul says, Barry, you're failing to understand that the communist comrade governors in the Northeast are and always have been corrupt. Hey, Paul, I grew up in Connecticut. I'm pretty sure with my time in Connecticut and Massachusetts and New York, I'm pretty sure how those governments ran and how they continue to run. I still have family in the Northeast, in Connecticut and New York. I know what they're having to do. So I'm fully aware of how Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York have been operating. And it hasn't changed in decades. I've said here many times on my show, many, many, many times, I could drive to the same neighborhoods that were ghettos when I was in high school that are still ghettos today. No explanation other than you want those people being in that situation. It's awful. 40 something years, I could land a plane, get a rent-a-car, and I could say, come with me, bring a camera crew. And I'd tell the people in the car, so here's this neighborhood, and we're going to drive to it. I haven't been here in a long, long time, but I guarantee you it's still a ghetto. And we would turn the corner and we'd drive. You know, I'd be telling them, here's where, you know, how things happen. Here's where my dad used to do stuff. You know, oh, by the way, in 1968, when he was in the National Guard, they called out the National Guard to guard this corner. And I would turn the corner and go, see? It's still the hood. Hoods don't hardly ever change. Governors do, but their system, because they keep getting elected, just stays the same, and these people get the same stuff over and over and keep, well, supposedly voting for it. It's a never-ending cycle.
2.
It's a president who promised a fight, and he's delivering multiple main card matchups. In the first 90 days in office, the Trump White House has gone toe-to-toe with DEI, tariffs, law firms. He's tearing through the Department of Education and everything from early start programs to the Ivy Leagues. Judges and the court system are fueling.
I don't know what she was doing this segment for. If she was doing this to try and expose something, but the rest of us are back here going, yeah, that's exactly what we voted for. I mean, where's my clap button? Yeah, yeah. It's like she woke up one morning and said, you know, look at all this stuff that Trump's doing. It's pretty crazy.
His ire, Greenland, Canada, the Panama Canal, South Africa, and the United Nations, the media, red dye number 3, fluoride, USAID, the Kennedy Center, former officials from the Biden administration, officials from his own first term, AutoPen, military base names, pennies, pronouns, FEMA, flags, water pressure, national parks, paper straws, research programs, vaccines, President Zelensky, U.S. agency buildings.
I'm tired. Continue.
Governor Hochul, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, food safety inspections. That's just to name a few. And it is
Ooh, oh man, thank you.
A list that is getting longer every day, and his base cannot wait for the next round.
Abby, in case you're ever wondering, you watch this. You're absolutely right. The base, us, MAGA, yeah, we drool. Thank you for that. Thank you for that morsel. Because all we can tell Trump is more, please, more. And there's something else you really need to understand, Abby, because I'm not sure you understand how we feel. Because, well, let me explain it to you.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
I saw that clip and I'm like, oh, so it's like she's winning, showing accolades, not realizing all of us are like, yes, yes. And then she goes, well, it's all this in just 3 months. Yes, just 3 months. Thank you, Abby. Thank you for outlining it for the rest of them to see. He's kicking butt and taking names. And the only thing stopping him at this point, the only thing that is keeping from doing anything are these crazy judges. So now you understand, as she was reading that all up, you're like, yeah, give me some more of that. They see it too. And they know if these judges are rendered feckless, they're done. They are absolutely done. His approval rating keeps going up. I don't know if you guys saw it today. Hold on, let me see if I can find Mark Mitchell's post, because Mark Mitchell said something that was really interesting. Let me find it real quick. Mark Mitchell, there he is. I'm gonna find his tweet. 1 second, I'm getting there. Wait a minute. Wait. He tweets so much because he talks about it constantly. Where's the Trump thing, Mark? Where is it? Okay, this was the one I wanted to show you earlier. This is the one where he posted and said, if SCOTUS rules against nationwide injunctions, I do believe the left will go rabid. They will be actually losing an unbelievable amount of political power, and they have been whipped up in a froth over the court. So just imagine what's going to happen if these court rulings come the way I think they're going to do. And then I want to find his newest rankings. I can't find it because he tweets so much stuff here. Yeah, here it is, right here. I love this. There just isn't enough outrage to fuel sustained bad Trump polling. He's pretty much back to where he was at inauguration today. That's huge. Here he is 3 months later, and his rating is as high as it was when he was inaugurated. And are all the prostitutes who ran with Trump plunges gonna run when runs Trump surges stories? Prostitutes. What are they gonna do? They're holding on right now. The last vestige of power that they have is lawfare. And if lawfare goes, oh boy, if lawfare goes away. Tom Homan's talking about that.
One. Who's having what conversation, what officials? I'm not in the loop on that.
So more broadly, let me ask you. I know you're a law guy. You've sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution. You did that through your entire career. The general principle I want to ask you is: do you agree that the Constitution extends those constitutional rights that we all have extend to every person in the United States? Every person, no matter what crime they're accused of, or no matter their legal status.
And
he's trying to tricky. You notice he didn't say Americans. He said every person that's here. Another window into their soul of where they're going. Nobody gets deported. It gets extended to everyone who's here. That's where they're trying to go. I wanted you to hear that tonight before we left. Now you understand. You've heard it a couple times. He's never going away if they let him back. And he is the poster child for keeping everybody here. And he just said it on ABC.
We have followed the Constitution. We have followed the law. I am confident that everything we've done is follow the laws within the constitutional constructs. Absolutely.
And so that right of due process is something, the Fifth Amendment right of due process extends to everybody who would be deported. Well, they have a chance to have a hearing on this.
The length of due process is not the same under the Alien Enemies Act. That's why the Alien Enemies Act was created. President Trump invoked the authorities he had of the Alien Enemies Act, an act written and passed by Congress and signed by a president. We're using the laws on the books, the statutes on the books, to secure the border and remove significant public safety threats and national security threats to this country.
But let me get.
No, I didn't like what you answered, so let me come at it different angles to try and catch you and make you say something that I need you to say, because that's their plan. I'm gonna do my own propaganda at this point. Start telling you this is where they're going. If the Supreme Court says that President Trump can't deport people, they're not going to allow anyone to be deported. They're going to do everything they can to keep, as he said, every person, not every American. They want to give every single person constitutional rights in America. That's where the Democrats are going. And if they go there, and if they get it, the country's over. Every person who gets here, don't matter how you get here, you can never be deported. That's what they want to see happen. That's why he's saying every person here.
Specific on this, the Supreme Court has long held that constitutional rights extend to every person in the United States. Justice Scalia, a majority opinion that he wrote back in 1993, wrote, "It is well established that the Fifth Amendment entitles aliens to due process of law in deportation proceedings." Are you saying that by invoking the Alien Enemies Act that undocumented immigrants are not entitled to.
See, they can't even use the right word. I can't take anybody serious who has to change their words to make their point. Call them what they actually are. ABC News, you're pussyfooting around here. Undocumented immigrants? No. No, that's not what they are. You just said and you just read what Scalia wrote, but you can't say it yourself. You can't, the words can't come out of your mouth because it's every person that now matters.
Those due process rights under the Fifth Amendment?
Well, I'm saying the procedure under Alien Enemies Act is less than it is there in like a Title VIII removal proceeding. And we're following the rules of the Alien Enemies Act. Again, I think this administration has followed the law. They've used statutes enacted by Congress, signed by a president, to remove the terrorists from this country. I'm not saying, I'm not arguing right here that nobody should get due process. I'm just saying there's a different process under Alien Enemies Act, less of a process than you see through Title VIII. A senator traveled to El Salvador on taxpayer dime to meet with an MS-13 gang member, public safety threat terrorist. I mean, in the meantime, the day before he traveled, an illegal alien was arrested for murder, released to the streets rather than honoring an ICE detainer in his very own state. What concerns me is Van Halen never went to the border the last 4 years under Joe Biden when he had a 600% increase in sex trafficking in women and children. You have a record number of no-inspected terrorists crossing that border. You had 250,000 Americans die from fentanyl overdose because of the open border. You got over 4,000 illegal aliens die.
Look at his face. He's like, oh no. Oh no. I opened the door with this question and Tom Homan ran through it and now I can't get him to shut up. And he actually looks pained. Pained. Oh my gosh. He said the words. He called them the words. They're not those. They're undocumented. Oh my God, every person here deserves to be treated the exact same as an American. What are you saying?
Making that journey, which is an historic record. What shocks me is he's remained silent on the travesty that happened on our southern border. Many people died. Thousands of people died. I've met with hundreds of angel moms and dads who buried their children that were murdered by an illegal alien. How many angel moms and dads has he met in the state of Maryland? That's what concerns me.
He's 100% right. Nope, they don't want to talk about that. It's not at all important. We can't talk about that. Namadou asked a very big question. Barry, do you truly think SCOTUS is going to rule against President Trump? What I want to tell you is go back to the ruling that everybody keeps talking about. Go back to the ruling, last week? That was 9-0. I said this in a show. And when I said this in the show, I was being as open as I could possibly be. And I was talking about that ruling and that it was 9-0. And you rarely see any ruling that's 9-0. And so they're making a big deal and saying that the Supreme Court said that he had to facilitate and bring this guy back, right? So in order for you to believe that it was a 9-0 decision to bring this guy back, you are now telling everybody that Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito both agreed and said bring these people back. Because that's the only way you could believe it was 9-0 in your favor. You'd have to believe that both of them believed it. Contrary. If you're a Republican, you would have to believe that Ketanji Jackson and Sotomayor and Kagan all voted to let Trump do what he wanted to. None of those scenarios are actual. So what you have to look at is the Supreme Court punted. The Supreme Court said, you guys figure it out, and this is just a process. I said it the very next day. I did a video. I'm like, chill. This means absolutely nothing. It was 9-0 of, hey, you go handle it. Handle your business. Come up with a decision talking to the lower court. And then when you make your decision, then we'll come back and take a look at this. In fact, I brought up the decision. I showed you the wording of it. And it said, we invite you to come back. Go ahead and take care of business. And so that's all 9 judges did. you guys go figure it out and let us know when you're done. So do I think that they're going to rule against President Trump? I don't think so. It's close. I mean, in the letter of the law, it's close. But I don't think they're going to rule against President Trump. And at that point, two things are going to happen. One side's going to go nuts, or the other side's going to go nuts. But the other side, meaning us, that's why Pete Hegseth is so important. That's why they are freaking out and trying to remove Pete Hegseth. Everyone's playing chess at this point, trying to figure out what is the Supreme Court going to do. And there's one thing in the Constitution that is going to be problematic for the Democrats. And that line in the Constitution is that they are co-equal branches of government. See, that's something I've struggled with a long time. If they're co-equal, how is the Supreme Court going to tell the president they can or can't do something? Because then, by definition, they would no longer be co-equal. See, the Democrats keep pushing, he's going to defy the Supreme Court, and, it's a constitutional crisis. Well, I don't know. I'm pretty sure if you look at it, it says co-equal branches of government. Didn't say 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, all three have to have a majority. No, co-equal. You don't tell me what to do, I'll tell you what to do. You see, the way it was written, and I'm no constitutional scholar, I've listened to Mark Levin and some other people. If you're co-equal, what they're saying is, if there's a law that needs to be, reviewed, then as long as that law doesn't override the president, you should be fine. See, SCOTUS can say, listen, hey, I've looked at this law. Number one, let me make sure that this law doesn't usurp the power of the president. No, it doesn't. All right, so speed limits at 55 miles an hour across the country are legit. Okay, because the president have nothing to do with that. Right? So if two people decide they want to sue something and they follow the law, but the interpretation of the law doesn't usurp the judiciary or Congress/Senate, it doesn't involve them. Okay, let me go ahead and adjudicate it. See, where we are right now is if we truly have co-equal branches of government, the Supreme Court can't possibly overrule the president. Barry, you're crazy. I mean, they may try. What happens when the president goes, no, you are the same level. You can't tell me what to do any more than I can tell you what to do. Checkmate? Where do we go at that point? This is something we've never been at in our history, where the Supreme Court is going to be asked to tell the president what to do. Like, dude, you don't have that authority over me. I have specific roles spelled out in the Constitution. Article 2, Article 3. Period. How do you think it's okay for you to tell me what to do? That's where we are. Because you can't say it's a constitutional crisis if you believe they're co-equal parts of the government. Because if they're co-equal, Trump can't order the Supreme Court to make a decision, can he? Can President Trump call up John Roberts, hey, you need to vote this way on this particular thing? Can he do that? No. So how can the phone call go the other way? How can the Supreme Court call President Trump and say, you need to do this? See, that's a dilemma no one has answered to me. I haven't found any answer to that. Those phone calls could never happen based upon how things are written. And as you heard it right now, you think to yourself, yeah, co-equal. I can't call you. I can't call Congress and say, make this law. Nope. Congress can't call the Supreme Court and say, do this. Nope. Congress can't call the president and say, do this. Nope. Well, all balance. So how, at this point, can the Supreme Court tell the president, because then you are essentially rewriting the Constitution. Because you're no longer co-equal. We're your boss. We're your daddy. We tell you what to do. See, that's all been lost in the media. They don't talk about, oh, he's going to defy the ruling of the Supreme Court. How can I defy? You ain't my daddy? We're all brothers here. There is no daddy. There is nobody else, because we're all the same. That's how the Constitution is written. I'm not a lawyer, but I've talked to a few, and they're like, and I've asked that question: Are they truly co-equal branches of government? Yeah, that's how it's written. What the hell are we talking about? And so I urge you to talk to friends and lawyers and say the same thing. Like, can they tell him what to do? Can he tell them what to do, and vice versa? Just fair. Just Barry is backtracking on Pam Bondi. Oh, you people make me sick who say that stuff. In fact, I don't even know if I mentioned Pam Bondi today. I just said the fact of what's she going to do. What do you mean backtracking? I hate when people say backtrapping, flip-flopping. No! She did a fantastic job in the state of Florida. As the U.S. Attorney General, ain't seen anything yet. How's that backtracking? It's truth. Absolute truth. You can't say any other. Maybe if you didn't live in Florida, you can't even say the first part. I lived here. I saw what she did. She's got the goods. She can get it done. 100%. Okay. Has she done it at the other level? Not yet. That's not backtracking. Craziness. Craziness. Let's see here. Max, stay out. Maximus, yes, stay safe out there. Yeah. That's what Dems want. Yeah. No, I didn't say that. It's crazy. It's crazy. Absolutely. That's what Dems want. They want to rewrite history and make up stuff as they go. Absolutely. It drives me crazy, Daddy. It's like I never mince my words. I never make innuendos. I never put these crazy tweets out. Anyone see what I see? Oh, look at... No, I tell you what I think. If you don't like what I think, that's another story. But I'm going to tell you what I think. And I don't leave room for ambivalence. She was great down here. Ain't seen it at that level yet. Truth. The U.S. Constitution is currently suspended. Yeah, see, but just here. Love how you break these issues down and explain it as to where I can truly understand. You know why? Because I actually think it to myself. If they are equal, how does SCOTUS suspend deportations this past weekend? How do you know they did? I don't know. I don't know who got flown out of here. Do you know who got flown out of here? Nope. No, you don't. In fact, I saw President Trump post a video, and when you say this, understand what that judgment was. See, the judgment you just saw, the decision, is basically what. Look at the words you just wrote there. It didn't say he couldn't do it, even by your own words. Suspended, temporary, take a pause. But even then, if Trump wanted to, he doesn't have to do it. That's the answer to your question. Right now, Trump's playing along. I'm like, okay, we'll file all these papers and we'll do this and we'll do that. But at some point, poop's going to hit the fan. This is it. SCOTUS rules on constitutionality of things. Correct. Let's see what I still have faith in Pam. They stepped into a huge pile. See, I said this yesterday. Or today I posted. Doesn't matter. There are going to be people who say she's good. There's people who say she's bad. There's going to be people who say she needs more time. And it could be 2 years from now and they will still claim victory. See, it just needed more time. So there's no win in that argument. Have faith? I don't have faith. I got faith in God. I don't have faith in an attorney general. I know her skills are there. I know she's done it before. I've seen her ability. I know she is proficient. But results at this point, that's what we're looking for. That's not backtracking. That's fact. So, I mean, faith is, I got faith in God. You know why I have faith in God? Because I know God will never let me down. Ever. I cannot say that about a human, especially a human in government. There's a big difference there. There's a big difference there. All right. Let me go ahead and play this about the X group that you guys are all welcome to come in. I just want to say thank you to the Fanfare community. And if you're new here, I'd like to take a moment and welcome you. If you watch my videos, you've probably realized at this point that this isn't your usual podcast. The difference is that every single day, I try to make this show an open conversation amongst friends. You see, I believe that speaking to friends, here and in your own circle offline, is the best way to push back against all the lies being told by the Democrats and the media. I encourage people in this community to welcome each other, and in doing so become a source of support for those seeking to unplug from the matrix. If you'd like to communicate on a deeper level, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, but if you'd really like to surround yourself with like-minded patriots, join our free and private X group by going to fanfareshop.org/group. When you join this free group, a few things will happen. One, if you haven't used X before, you can use X without venturing into the sewer that it sometimes can be. Two, you can share content with friends that you meet here. 3, you will get notified every time I go live, so you can't count on YouTube notifications. And 4, and this might be most important, you get content that I can't share on YouTube or Rumble. So please take a moment and join our free and private X group. Just go to fanfareshop.org/group. Remember, it's members only. There are 16,000 plus people in that group right now, getting close to 17,000. To join our free and private members only X group, just go to fanfareshop.org/group. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Get some super chats. All right. Thornton Maloney, Barry just saw on Truth Interactive polls, Dems have jumped 7 points on the congressional ballot. It's now D+5. In February was R+4. Okay. Terry Swinson, Barry Levy on your show, been following for just over 6 months. Thank you. Please consider not wearing bright white shirt. It gets hard on the eyes after a while. Just my opinion. We'll continue watching no matter the color. And we just bought a whole bunch of these shirts. A whole bunch of them. You tell me it's too bright? I just bought like 7 of these exact same shirts, so I could always have the same uniform color. And you're saying, it hurts me. Tin Lee, Pete is getting Michael Flynn. Pray for Pete. Yep, it's coming. Mr. Anderson, Raskin said their plans: delete the MAGA class and our backers and terrorists, punish our allies that backed us MAGA. That's what they want to do, which will throw this country into a complete, utter crapshoot. You think your 401k went down because he announced tariffs? Their plan is to wipe you out. Trump needs to contact Sheriff Grady Judge in Florida. He said he knows a way to get them out and avoid this long-term court issue for Trump to contact them. Ashley's been trying to get Grady Judge on so we can find, and yeah, I'd love to talk to him. Yep, there it is, both you guys in a row. Job, can you interview Sheriff Grady? Trying to get a hold of him. Party Dog, can we just bring back the Marlboro Man instead? Mr. Anderson, Nancy Pelosi is the Matrix, repeat and rinse. The wrap-up smear. Daryl Coda, thank you. Daryl Coda again, we need to back Trump because worst is coming. Born on the 4th. Repetition spewed by the fake news and crazy is a form of brainwashing, and it's absolutely deliberate. Yes, it is. Trumpinator, they are doing this for the media. I agree. because it just makes a good story for them. Shell, sounds like perhaps they want to start a war between U.S. And El Salvador. Going down there and causing chaos. He's only going to take so much before he tells them to hit the skids there. KRO, thank you. Remember, Barry, most of the millions of illegals were young fighting age men. That was part of their plan. Penny Cordora, they didn't think J6 defendants deserved due process, nor Catholics or 70-year-old grandmas or President Trump. No due process for them, no vetting, but however, the newcomers can do whatever they want. Good point. Buster, Pam Bondi needs to start making arrests. They're making arrests. What you're looking for is big name arrest. But, I think they also know that it needs to be buttoned up because these courts, who knows what they will do. Jim Wright, if the President and Secretary of Defense say the word reactivated, my old broken ass will gladly do what my oath states and what is required. This can't be solved or won in the courts. It's going to require more. Jim, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Mighty Mouse. From Canada, Barry, I saw The King of Kings this afternoon. Wow, it was so powerful. It's been a few hours, and I'm still feeling emotional about it. Yep, I was completely wrong. That was a fantastic movie. Mr. Anderson, Scott Bessent, new chair, Bitcoin signed in River. Okay. Maximus, Barry, I'm a court-qualified expert on MS-13 here in Los Angeles. I know how to read tattoos and graffiti, so I'm telling you, he is a member. I fully believe that Maximus knows exactly what he's talking about. Mark of Reality, I hope a bunch of congressional Democrats and congressional rhinos go to El Salvador, act a fool, and get arrested. Think of the legislation we could get through as long as we have a quorum. Shell, more concerned with where are all these Harvard graduates have been implanted in certain jobs throughout the USA. Indeed. Velta? I also waiting for the giant RICO case President Trump started for all the Russian collusion BS. That's going to take down a whole lot of people. If it happens. Buddy Sanders, 25,000 Chinese military-aged men crossed the border. That's why the military is so important. Trumpinator, I want more. I'm not tired. Neo, thank you, Barry. Dems act like Americans all have blinders on. They are dead wrong. We see and hear they're evil. God bless to protect Trump in America. Absolutely. Larry, 1754. What if somehow Garcia is actually taken out in the El Salvador prison? Would that not be gasoline thrown on the Dems fire? I think they moved him into a different place so he's got better protection. Shirley Eliakas, God bless you, Barry and Mods. Thank you, Shirley. America Ramirez, look for another girl on the 17 in the same state, 23 years old. Not one is talking about that. Yep. Sean P., all presidents deport, but Trump gets harassed for it. Exactly. And Paul Grob, hey, Barry, you can do Money Mondays. Well, we're going to try and do something big next Monday. We've got Stephen Moore, and then we're going to try and do the financial literacy thing that Scott Bessent is doing. So we're going to try and do all of that next Monday. And tomorrow, usually Tuesdays, and usually Tuesday means press conference. So we shall see. Tomorrow we have, let me see if it's live or recorded. Tomorrow I've got Tim Burchett, and that should be a really good interview. Let me see what time he's coming in. So Tim Burchett tomorrow's the 22nd. Tim Burchett, I'm talking to him at 9 a.m. So he and I will be talking. I'll record that and have it ready for the 12 or 1 show, depending on what time Caroline Levitt is going on. So that should be a great conversation for you guys to hear. All right, here, it's dogs are like, I want to go outside, so time for me to go. Here comes the after party. Thank you guys for watching.